Welcome to Trashmagination, a podcast about reimagining trash. I'm Carla Brown. Today our topic is the creative reuse of tea bags, or maybe we should call it tea cycling. I don't drink much tea, but I was born in Newfoundland where people drink lots of tea. When I moved to the United States, I noticed that more people drink iced tea. And what I found is that tea is the most popular drink in the world, other than water. It is consumed in almost 80% of households here in the United States. In 2015, the worldwide tea production was 5.2 million metric tons. So imagine how many tea bags that creates. I never put much thought towards tea bags. I would just toss them in my compost bin, and I didn't think they would be a big source of trash. But I recently learned that many tea bags contain plastic, and that will not break down in my compost. This plastic is polypropylene, which helps the tea bags to hold their shape. I found a great video made by the BBC which shows how tea bags are produced, and I will put that in the show notes. There's a part of the video where you can see the materials that go into making the tea bags, and they stir in some plastic that looks something like cotton batting that you might put in a cushion. In England, a grocery chain called Co-op Food announced this January that they are removing polypropylene from their tea bags. This decision will save 9 tons of plastic per year. In February, a company called PG Tips, which is the most popular type of tea in England, announced that they will remove plastic as well. But if you drink tea and you're worried about plastic in your tea bag, then there are other options. The easiest way to avoid creating plastic trash is to buy loose tea and to put your loose tea in one of those metal tea balls. If you like tea bags, you can research which companies do not put plastic in their bags. Some of them, for example, use a cornstarch type of material in order to help the bag hold its shape. But you might also consider avoiding tea bags that have a little string or a little staple, because each of these things then becomes trash. And any tea bag will contain wood pulp, which seems like an unnecessary use of a tree. So those are some of the issues around tea bags. For the rest of this podcast, I'm going to share ideas of how to creatively reuse tea bags. Hopefully you'll switch to loose tea and you won't even need these ideas. But let's pretend that you have a stash of tea bags that you want to use up. And here's some ideas on how to do that. So first, there are some ways to use tea bags in your garden when you're cleaning your home, and also to help with your health. So in the garden, there's lots of things you can do. First of all, you can remove the tea leaves from the tea bags. As we just learned, they might contain plastic, and then put the tea leaves directly in your garden or your house plants. You can also take the tea bags and open them up on one end, but leave the tea leaves in there, and then line them up in a little container, and those are really great seed starter pots. And then lastly, this is a great use to wipe off the dust on your houseplants with your wet tea bags. In terms of cleaning your home, I learned that the tannins in used tea bags will cut the grease on pans without using harsh chemicals. So you just soak your greasy dishes with your used tea bags. I also learned that tea leaves can reduce odors. They are very absorbent. So some people sprinkle tea leaves in kitty litter. You can put dried out used tea bags at the bottom of your trash can, or you can also put them inside smelly shoes to absorb odors. Some folks use tea bags to help with their health. For example, folks will reduce dark circles under their eyes with wet tea bags. Apparently, the caffeine in the tea shrinks the blood vessels around your eyes, and this reduces the appearance of dark circles. So I suppose this only works with caffeinated tea. I also learned that a wet tea bag can reduce the sting of insect bites or sunburn. Now, in general, my favorite part to talk about is how to use these materials to make art. And there are a lot of artists who use tea bags in their work. The first time I saw artists creatively reusing tea bags was at a Green America Green Festival in 2004. A company called Tea Bag Designs was there. They were showing their beautiful bags and greeting cards. This company is located in South Africa, and if you live there, you can mail your used tea bags to them. They have photos on their website that show you how to empty the tea bags correctly so that they can use them in their designs. And I will put the address for this company in the show notes. If you're not in South Africa, or if you want to make art from tea bags yourself, here's a whole bunch of ideas. For paintings, you really must check out the work by Ruby Silvius. She wrote a book called 363 Days of Tea, which featured her tea bag paintings over the course of a year. And each of her paintings are quite different from each other. She's influenced by the shape of the tea bags, and she sometimes comments on popular culture, sometimes incorporates chocolate bar wrappers. She does a lot of really creative things with tea bags. Now, there's another artist named Miss Johns, and she doesn't paint on the tea bags, but she incorporates used tea bags into her paintings. So, for example, they might be a roof on a house, or they might be part of a farmer's field. And Libby Williamson's tea bag art combines painting and machine stitching. So she puts these really cute designs on the tea bags and then outlines them with her sewing machine. And she hangs them on ribbons to make garlands, or she sometimes binds them into little books, which she calls tea bag tales. If you're interested in painting on tea bags, I'm going to share a video in the show notes where an artist demonstrates how she prepares her painting surface, and it involves emptying the leaves out of the tea bags and then gluing them to a board. Now, another way that artists creatively reuse tea bags is in sculptures. As you know, tea bags come in all shades of brown, especially once you take the leaves out, which makes them a great material if you want to create a gradient or shading. And artists who incorporate tea bags into their sculptures do all sorts of fun things. For example, Andy Brown made a portrait of Queen Elizabeth from tea bags. Barbara Bartlett removes the leaves and sews the bags together into many objects, including clothing. And Ruth Tabanke hand-stitched a whole bed quilt from tea bags. And something that was a cute thing she did is she left the little strings and tags on the tea bags so that it would be even more obvious that this quilt was made from tea bags. One more I will mention is Valeria Burgoa. She rolls up the tea bags like little roses and attaches them into a big circle. It's like a giant bouquet of tea roses. Ann Laser has a website called The Tea Bag Project, where she asks people to mail her dried tea bags with the tea leaves still inside them. And then she encourages people to follow her on social media to see what she will make with their tea bags. Now, she made a huge piece in the rotunda of the Capitol building of the state of New Mexico that included more than 2,000 tea bags, and it took 2 years to make. Now, she had a great quote that says, "My biggest vision would be that I could in some way influence about the importance of connecting to one another and a sense of contentment and peace." So I think she's touching on two wonderful themes when we think about making art from tea bags. One is that connection, because we often have tea together with other people in a tea party or out at a coffee shop. And then the part about that when we drink tea, we often feel more peaceful. So two wonderful sentiments associated with the creative reuse of tea. Now, the last bunch of projects I'll mention are some tea bag crafts. So I saw that Julia from Vintage with Laces, she cuts her, first she takes the leaves out and she dries the tea bags, and then she cuts them into leaf shapes and embroiders the veins of the leaves on there. So it's a little leaf craft, and it's quite delicate looking and beautiful. Renia Harrison, she makes flowers from dried tea bags. So again, she removes the leaves, dries them, and then they actually look like real petals on sort of old flowers, dried flowers. Really beautiful. Brenda Quintana, she is dealing with a part of tea trash that I haven't even mentioned, which is the paper packaging found on the outside of tea bags. So often the tea bag is inside a paper little envelope, and those go into the trash. Of course, you can put them in your paper recycling, but she folds them into beautiful origami ornaments. Michelle White makes textured art paper and journal pages from dried tea bags, and actually there were quite a few YouTube videos showing how artists incorporated dried tea bags into their work. Jean McLaughlin combines tea bags with little pieces of art, little sketches, things like that she cuts out of other sources, and she makes little collages. Now, Daniela Wolf and Wendy Aiken put up a YouTube video about a workshop that they did where they use stencils. So they'll put the stencil down on the paper and then they dab onto the stencil with tea bags, and the brown, all the tannins and all the things inside the tea bag only go on the paper, of course, where the stencil allows it to go. And it made a really nice design. Also, they found that if there was paint already on the stencil, that the tea water and this paint would mix together and make a really cool effect. Finally, if you're into crafts, if you like to sew and you love tea, I think a really fun craft idea is to sew reusable tea bags from muslin fabric. So I suppose if you don't want to get one of those metal tea balls, you can just put your loose tea in one of these reusable tea bags. So if you have creatively reused tea bags, I would love to hear about it at trashmagination@gmail.com. So until next time, may you see tea bags as a source of art in your life.